The Jolly Boys Brewery podcast.
Hey up now then! Welcome to the world's first Jolly Boys Brewery podcast. You are very welcome, dear listener. What we're hoping to do with our podcast is share some love with you about brewing, about being a brewery, and about friendship, around warmth, around all the things that make beer drinking so wonderful and beer making so wonderful as well. And I'll introduce another Jolly Boy to you in a moment. My name is Hywel Roberts, and I am one of the 4 Jolly Boys of the Jolly Boys Brewery, and we're really excited about sharing our, if you like, our story with you, a story that has been at least 10 years in the making, but as we're going to hear later, it's actually been going on a lot longer than that. We'd love you to subscribe to the podcast. It'd really support us. We'd really love you to get in touch as well, and we'll share everything in the episode notes. But if you want to make a note of pod at jollyboysbrewery.co.uk, that's pod at jollyboysbrewery.co.uk. That's going to be the best way to get in touch, as well as all the socials and the things like that. Something we'd love you to send in, actually, are the questions for our master brewer, and when we can get hold of him, our chief brewer, but he's a bit more elusive. Our master brewer, Mr. Ondrie Mann, who is sitting opposite me right now. Hello, Ondrie.
Hello, Hywel.
Well, tell us about your role as the master brewer, if you don't mind, just briefly.
Well, I have to. It's my business to know about beer and what makes a good pint and what makes a pint bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does make a pint bad? I mean, we've all had a bad pint, haven't we?
Well,
not in the Jolly Boys, though, interestingly.
Well, exactly. What makes a pint bad? Well, there are probably about 100 things you could do that make a pint bad, and to be fair, most of them happen in the pub.
Yeah.
There are many keepers of great ale in this green and pleasant land, and the publican, the person who looks after real ale in the actual pub, has got a massive responsibility in getting that beer out in tip-top condition.
And that's a pressure, isn't it? That's a pressure on you as the brewer, because we all want to serve the best beer, don't we? And then the last thing we need is it to be served badly.
Well, my root and branch sort of approach to it is that we've got to control what leaves the brewery, and we've got to make sure that when it leaves the brewery, it's in fine condition.
Yeah, and I think we're really good at that, and we're going to hear more about that in a moment today. But also, if you've got questions for the master brewer for future episodes, and you can just drop him a line, because the thing I know about Brother Ondrie is that he knows a lot about brewing. So the big Parish notice, if I can take us to Parish notices, cue jingle.
Parish notices.
Oh, I love that. Do you like that jingle?
Oh, I love it, yeah. I love the jingle.
It's good, isn't it? It sets the tone. The main parish notice for this episode, our first episode, is that after 10 years of brewing in the wonderful, fantastic town of Barnsley in South Yorkshire, we've actually upped sticks, haven't we? And we've moved to Wakefield, just up the motorway, to a fantastic venue called WX, the Wakefield Exchange. And it's we've housed the brewery there, but we've also opened a little emporium where we can sell our beer as well, straight from the brewery itself. But I thought what we could talk about now, beyond that, is to really think about what we need to talk about, and the brewery itself and the story of the brewery. The brewery has attracted attention over the years, I think, because of the powerful story about its birth. I think we put this brewery together, Andre, didn't we? When we were young bucks.
Yeah.
Well,
young thrusters.
Well, 3 or 4 of us in our 40s, but we were doing it at a time when actually beer was on the rise. An interest, am I right? An interest in brewing and stuff was on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, I came at it from the angle that I were really interested in not putting mass-produced, ultra-processed food and drink into my body. And quite selfishly, I just got fed up of getting hangovers after drinking mass-produced lagers.
Yeah, because then you'd have to just get straight to work, wouldn't you, if you were drinking that much on a morning?
Yeah, well, this is it, and you don't want to be calling off at a shop called Desperate Measures.
No.
On your way into work.
No.
Yeah. But we weren't drinking a lot. But I was just thinking, if I'm going to drink a few pints of beer over a weekend, I want to drink good ones.
Yeah.
So I want to drink less, but of a higher quality.
Yeah.
So I got interested in looking at ingredients and provenance and discovered that that there's a really good maltster in Castleford, Fawcett's.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we get our malt from Fawcett's and realise that you can make beer using the old German purity law, where you'd literally put 4 ingredients in it, and that's how we've tried. Well, that's how we've operated since we started.
Yeah, and I feel that you brought that in, you hid that interest actually, because we all work together. This is something you need to know, dear listener. We all work together. We all actually, and some of you might know this, but we all worked in the same school. We're all educators, educationalists of different descriptions, but we were, and it was actually on a bit of a gentleman's away day, wasn't it? That we got to thinking about actually setting a brewery up. Do you want to tell the listener about that?
Well, we used to have like an annual pilgrimage to Scarborough. Just we'd go in the minibus, take the school stickers off the side.
Yeah.
And
do you remember that time when we pulled up and well, there was one of our crew. He needed a wee, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he had to. He did a wee, but then who was driving?
Reader.
Yeah, Reader. He just pulled away and left this lad exposed. I mean, I've never seen a grown man pull down his entire trousers to go for a stand-up wee, but that's what we had. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, we were just outside Scarborough.
Yeah.
And we had to drive off and then drive back and pick him up, but we did it twice just
to rub it in.
Yeah, he stood at the side of the A64.
To be young again.
And I remember. Yeah, we went out, didn't we, on a Saturday afternoon?
Yeah.
And I'd been doing a lot of home brewing.
Yeah.
Getting interested, damaging my dining room and kitchen irreparably, and it's true.
Oh.
And I turned the dining room into a brewery.
Yeah.
So when we set up a brewery, my wife just, she sort of, she didn't hear the financial investment. She just said, "Can I get my dining room back?" And we were like buzzing. But we were walking down at Scarborough, down the road, and we were on our way to a pub on Scarborough Seafront, a Sam Smith's pub, beautiful pub called the Golden Ball.
Golden Ball, yeah, Golden Ball.
And
buzzing.
I was talking to Paul, and I'm thinking about setting a brewery up. He just said, "Hey, I am as well." And by the time we were talking about it on the way down, and by the time we got into the Golden Ball and we were buying a few pints, and it was one of those pubs, there were no music, just good conversation.
Yeah.
You could see the sea view, the harbour.
Yeah.
And we just mentioned it, and then before you knew it, the hands were in the middle of the table. I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, they were, weren't they? It happened quite quickly. It was a bit of a rush, wasn't it?
Cocky beer talk got out of hand.
It did. Do you know what? That's the way I describe the brewery. It's an interest and a hobby that kind of exploded. I just think it's a good job we don't play golf.
Yeah, getting back to where we started though, if you remember,
Yeah.
we were drinking a Sam Smith's Sovereign, I think it was, really well kept pint, and we went to the bar for some more because we got a taste for it, and the guy running the bar just said, "Nah, it's not going to be on until 8 o'clock tonight." And he said, yeah, because when I tap it, I have to leave it for a set amount of time.
Yeah.
I think he said 72 hours, and that's 8 o'clock tonight, so you can't have it at 5. And we were like, actually, that's like what we want to hear.
Yeah.
A bloke who will not sell an inferior product.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which kind of tied in with what we wanted to do, and we started to realise that there were a bit more to keeping a pint than you might think.
Yeah. Because we had to learn all this, didn't we? And I mean, this story about us setting up the brewery, there's too much of it, I think, to sort of talk about now. Because but I do remember moments. I remember the key thing for me, and I think it's something that we should perhaps have daubed on the side of our new brewery, is you saying, "All I want to do, lads, is brew." And that stayed with me. And I tell people that phrase, and people get it's almost romantic. Do you know what? And it's a dream, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. It's. We got to the point where it would either do it or stop talking about doing it.
Yeah.
And it is. It's the feeling you get when people are drinking your beer but not talking about it. They're just talking to the mates about the week that they've had. But the beer is brilliant.
Yeah.
But they're not talking about the beer. That's a really good feeling that I get, that I'm in some way contributing to somebody having a better experience in their day.
Yeah, and I think that's a worthy cause, because that's what we want to do as Jolly Boys. That's part of our mission statement, although I've not written a mission statement, but part of the mission statement is that we produce quality stuff to be enjoyed, innit? And I think I heard you tell a story once, and maybe you don't have to tell it now, but we'll come back to it in the future, is around the Yorkshire bitter that we produce, and that idea of Yorkshire bitter is obviously a standard beer, isn't it? An ale that many breweries produce a similar kind of bitter, as far as I understand it. And but there's something special about that, because it's imbued with that sense of standing with someone, maybe your dad or your brother at a bar, your friend, at a bar, and having those quiet moments. I think we used to talk about the silences between the slurps, where you're enjoying the beer and enjoying the company.
Yeah, I was reading a book written by Ian Rankin, where the character John Rebus, he attacks the pint with his teeth. I can't remember which book it was. And I thought that's a good way of putting it, that you're almost like, when you're drinking, you don't really want somebody talking to you, because your brain's just taking in all those different experiences and flavours, sensations.
That's it.
Yeah, and it's like, if somebody asks you a really tricky question about something work-related, it just ruins the moment.
Yeah. Which, inevitably, because we were all in education, that would happen quite a lot, because teachers talk about teaching, teachers talk about kids, and stuff like that, and you can spend all afternoon doing that. And I think some of the people we were with at that day, they saw us as kind of old, even though we were in our just our 40s. It was like, we're not hanging around with those old lads, we're off to a sports bar to drink overly priced lager. And I think that they missed out, actually. They missed out a little bit.
Some of those lads, some of them still wearing white trainers, have developed their manly taste buds now. Yeah. And they have branched out from a mass-produced cooking lager to a more discerning flavour profile. Yeah. I've seen some of them actually drinking beer.
Oh, well, that's good to know, because we know we've got to get them drinking as soon as we can, this fine ale, rather than this, as you say, the mass-produced stuff. Anyway, Listen, dear listener, thank you for that, and thanks Ondrie for that, because we've got a lot of stories to tell on this podcast, and quite frankly, the evening in the Golden Ball in Scarborough some years ago, over a decade ago, there's a lot more to it. And I think there's a lot more then to how we then set about establishing a brewery, including just actually getting set up as a limited company whilst drinking in, is it Castleton we were at?
We went to Castleton. Yeah.
And we set up the brewery pretty much there, bought website domains and all that kind of business, and really committed to it as four pals, didn't we?
Yeah. We massively. I mean, we put a lot of time and thought into it.
And then we really could have written a book at that point about how not to set up a brewery, couldn't we?
Yeah, it does. We've made a few costly mistakes.
We did, and because actually that's where the point was, where we were amateurs, but we were excited and interested and committed, and and if you're interested in finding out our Rocky story, then it's a bit like Rocky actually, how we got to win, or just to get to this point actually, as we speak to you today. Then please subscribe to the podcast, because you'll be able to hear the story unfold. There's about 150 chapters so far, so I think we've got plenty to go at. So we'll just move on because of time. But something I wanted to ask you, Ondrie, if you like, in a feature that I like to call Ask the Master Brewer. There's a jingle there waiting to be written.
Who? What? Why? When? Where? How? With whom? Ask the Master Brewer.
It's been written. That's fantastic. Thank you, Callum. That's fantastic. I just wanted to ask you, because the thing about the brewing, I think when we set up the Jolly Boys Brewery, I think I was all in because I was with my friends. And I wanted to be part of it. I like doing stuff. I like being a doer, and I think we're all like that. But I didn't know anything about ale. I didn't know anything about real ale. I once went to Kelham Island on a stag do, and it was just awful. It was an awful experience, because every beer I had just made me want to hurl. I didn't know what I was drinking, and I was with some chin strokers who seemed to know what they were on about. But yeah. I've learnt a lot since then, Ondrie. So what can you tell me about? Can you perhaps inform me of my own journey? Because I went from lager to enjoying a Jolly Blonde, for example, a Barnsley Blonde, Jolly Blonde.
If you remember, we all started on bitter years ago, but it got so bad.
Do you mean we, as in years ago, as kids? Not kids, obviously not kids, as young people.
When we used to have those early, like Tuesday afternoon sessions, we were all drinking beer, but it was bad. It was bad beer, and then we moved on to lager because the beer was so bad. And if you go into a pub and you can't trust the ale, you get a lager, because the lager's not. A bad lager's not as bad as a bad beer. No. In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
And but when we first set the brewery up, if you remember, we knew that we'd got to make a couple of blondes.
Yeah.
And almost like an entry level real ale. So we did two blondes. We did one that were really more like a bitter, but paler in colour. And one that were more almost like an American pale.
Right.
It got more citrusy flavours to it. Yeah. So it's what they would call a pale in the United States. Yeah. And it was 4%, so it would have been to lower end at pale.
Yeah.
But we started on. We went with the Jolly Blonde. We went with that. If you remember.
I do. Yeah.
We all drank that, and at the time, there were no appetite for hoppy beers in the group, and there were no
Yeah.
appetite for overly robust beers. But if you think about it now, I drink the bitter.
Yeah.
That's my go-to.
Yeah.
Paul drinks the porter.
Yes, he does, doesn't he,
Quite-
Brother Paul?
Quite regularly.
Yeah.
And Dave likes the bitter, but he likes the blonde as well.
Brother Dave, yeah, I've seen him drink. I've definitely seen Brother Paul. These are the other Jolly Boys, dear listener. Brother Paul, he does like a porter. He likes more than one.
Yeah,
is the truth of it.
Been known.
He has been known to really research quite thoroughly the Jolly Boys porter, the Collier porter. That's right? Isn't it?
The Jolly Collier porter, and that if you think about where we've come, we don't brew the blonde anymore. We changed the recipe. Because it fell in popularity because like us, the customers the customers that we serve they've either gone down to they've gone more hoppy, they've gone down like they want citrusy flavoured beers, or they've gone down they want robust darker beers, and the blonde's just like a start to your journey.
Yeah, I think that's how I found it. And that blonde that we did drink a few years ago, it is different to what we drink now. And I know when I watch Brother David having a pint, he likes his Yorkshire bitter like you. But I think when it's a bit more, if there's an afternoon or if we've got a bit more time and there's no pressure, then I like the Super Citra now is my go-to, and I think what we'd like the listener, if you're interested in your beers, and I've been interested, you see, in that I'll drink the YPA, I'll drink that and I like it, but I think it's too strong for me. I think I like maybe I think it's maybe how much I'm wanting to drink actually.
Yeah, well, I what people say they want to drink and what people actually drink don't always match up, because we know what sells. Yeah. And it's the lower AVB beers that sell. But when sometimes people do want to kick up their heels on a Friday night, they might have a couple of YPAs. Yeah. It's more hoppy, and it's stronger in AVB as well. Yeah.
But I think it's if you're listening to this by accident and you have no interest in real ale at all, my advice is to go and find a Jolly Boys Super Citra or a Jolly Boys Pale, just something like it's refreshing, and it was my real gateway from just drinking lager. I realised actually that when I was drinking lager, I'd just go for like Kronenberg or something, have 5 pints and just feel, I know that sounds ridiculous now, but I was younger, but it just like messed me up. And like you were saying earlier, it just gave me an awful head, and I think I don't always think I behaved as best I could in the best way possible. Look, time's against us now, but if you've got any questions for Andre, or indeed any of the Jolly Boys, then you can email them in. We'll call it Ask the Brewer, and if you just email pod@jollyboysbrewery.co.uk, it'd be great to just get some questions from you, and we'll do our best to answer them. Time is of the essence now. Another feature I wanted to do in the show, there's two more features which I want Callum, our brilliant jolly editor, to think about sorting out jingles for.
You might not know about Yorkshire.
Dear listener, you might have already, you know where we're from because we've been talking about Yorkshire a lot, but how much do you know about Yorkshire? What I've realised with podcasts is that they reach the world. They can reach the world. So, if you are listening somewhere else other than Yorkshire, again, we'd love to know where you're listening from. We can actually find out because we can look at the data that comes in afterwards. But you're a proper Yorkshire lad, you, Andre, aren't you? You're born and bred, is that right?
Yeah. I've got a proper Yorkshire accent.
You have, not like mine, which is I've received it. Mine's received. Is it? It's not received. Yeah, it's a kind of received language. Accent, that's it, received accent.
Yeah, I mean, we've got like a Bolton.
Yeah, well, I'm from Bury.
Bury, that's it.
I'm from Bury, but I came over here to study at Bretton Hall, which I love.
You got Welsh heritage as well.
Welsh heritage, yeah.
Bit of a hybrid then.
I'm the hybrid of the Jolly Boys. I'm basically the one who's gone and done missionary work in other areas of the country, because you're Barnsley born and bred.
I think I am, yeah. But you've got the black pudding on us, I think.
Oh yeah, we win.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a war.
No,
it's not a
nice.
Fight. All right. I don't want any tension.
I think we got the beer though.
You've definitely got the beer. Berry can keep the black pudding because we've got the Jolly Boys ale, and I think Brother Paul, he's Wakefield.
He is.
He's a Wakefield born and bred, and I think Brother David is the same.
Yeah, and Paul's got the West Yorkshire accent.
He has.
Whereas Dave's not got that West Yorkshire accent.
Dave went to private school.
Did he? Is that what it is?
No, he really didn't. No, he really didn't. I think he would dispute that.
No, in fact, I would say he definitely didn't go to private school, but somehow his mum must have been a bit posh.
I think so. I think he's done very well for himself as Brother David.
Well,
his Brother Paul.
I've got one of those accents that I once in Sheffield, and this woman said, "You've got a proper Yorkshire accent," and I thought, what does that mean? Does that mean I sound stupid?
Well, we're very. I identify as a Yorkshire person, and although I'm proud of me heritage in Lancashire as well, I think we could just call it the North, couldn't we? But I don't want to cause anybody any fit of the vapours around that.
There will be some.
I know.
If you listen to our inbox, you can actually hear it.
I know. I always end up walking up these cul-de-sacs, trying to look for a way out. But there's lots that I'd like to talk more about in terms of Yorkshire, but also our kind of the iconography around the brewery with the sort of. We were sort of thinking about last of the summer wine and stuff like that, weren't we, when we were setting up, and I think we were informed by things like Kes and Kestrel for a Knave and Brastoff is a really important film. Just that Yorkshireness, northernness is important.
Basically, anything where there's a brass band playing it background.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Anybody who's doing any, we actually have a brass band in the brewery while we brew.
Well, it's important, and it's very good of them to turn up.
And there is research that suggests it makes the beer taste better.
Well, it does, because of course it does. I mean, do we need scientists to tell us that? Because it's just true. So I've really enjoyed that feature.
Is that finished?
That's the end of the feature, which I have called. Sorry, I need to just check. You might not know about, and I've put in brackets Yorkshire. So, but a future episode is you might not know about hops, and you say you keep your powder dry for that, Andre, right, because I know you'll
Do we not
love that.
mention that we all had to watch Threads when we were kids in school, and
yeah, we can talk about Threads.
Traumatised.
You need to know about Threads. If you don't know Threads, because it comes up quite regularly when we're talking about running a brewery. How do we get out of this? Well, hopefully we could have some sort of.
I read somewhere that Ronald Reagan watched Threads.
Yeah.
Before he decided to try and end the Cold War.
That doesn't surprise me.
Made in Yorkshire.
That doesn't surprise me.
Made in Yorkshire.
And the final thing I'd like to do is when we set up the brewery, and this will be a feature. It's called WhatsApp Randomizer. Just waiting for the jingle.
WhatsApp
Randomizer.
Good jingle. You like that?
Yeah, decent. Yeah.
So, how have we run the brewery? It's WhatsApp, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah. We've communicated through WhatsApp. We do send emails.
Yeah,
but WhatsApp's the.
That was the principal thing.
Yeah, that's how we had our conversations, especially in the early days.
And when we were talking about doing a podcast, I thought, I wonder what we've forgotten. So what I did was I opened up the original WhatsApp feed that we had.
Hey, if it's good enough for Westminster.
It is, yeah. It is, and I just scrolled. I just went like that with my thumb for like 10 minutes and eventually got to 2014.
Really?
And which told me that actually the brewery is older than 10 years. But it was a bit what's the word, disparate. There wasn't, not desperate, it was there wasn't loads of messages, but then the messages started coming in from each other, and you just remember these things that you've forgotten. And the randomizer took me to exactly 10 years. Oh no, I've got to do it now. I forgot. Sorry, I'm just going to do it now, live on the podcast. I'm doing it now. What's this?
What could it be?
That was drama then. 2015. So that at the time of recording is 10 years ago, dear listener. And in 2015, we went to Craft Beer Rising, which was a big festival in that London. We went south, mate.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we went first class.
Do you know, we went first class because we managed to get really cheap tickets.
We're about a fiver.
They were cheaper than the kind of standard class. But we spoilt ourselves that week.
We went crazy on tea.
Yeah.
We had a Chinese and an Indian.
Is that on the same day?
Yes, same day. Yeah.
We had a Chinese and an Indian on the same day.
And an Indian.
You see, that's, in the words of I've forgotten, that's living. Dennis Waterman, that's living all right, isn't it?
Yeah, that was it.
Is it?
It was a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he did. He sang that. He always liked to sing his own theme tunes, didn't he? That.
Yeah. Working for it. I know it's not Dennis Waterman. That's living all right.
Was it Alvida St. Pat?
Yeah, it was Alfida St. Pat. I'm sorry, I got my cultural references mixed up. How embarrassing. No, but we went there 10 years ago, and Brother Paul couldn't come because he was drinking porter somewhere.
Well, he was probably on blonde back then.
Well, he might have been on blonde, yeah, because he was younger, wasn't he? But we went to that London, and what's lovely in the WhatsApps is there's some photographs of us all and we look a little bit younger.
It was October.
No, it's February.
Was it? So it's like 10
it
years
is
ago
10 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
We stayed in with Lenny Henry, didn't we?
We stayed with Lenny Henry in the Inn of Premiers, and it was a jolly good time. In fact, that's where we realised that. I mean, we already knew the name of the brewery, didn't we?
That's where I had my first 2/3. Yeah, 2/3. I met.
Yeah.
When we went into a brew dog, and they were selling 2/3 of a pint.
Yes.
You could have knocked me down with a feather.
Yes, and I remember us going £6 for a pint? Are you joking? And we were just shaking our heads going, that's London prices.
Dave said it in a pint, it's 2/3.
Yeah. We were scandalised, weren't we? We were scandalised, dear listener. We were scandalised. Listen, we're going to just leave it there. But what we've tried to do this episode is just have a go. And thanks for listening. And Andre, I can't wait to do another podcast. Shall we do another?
Well, yeah, I think we should, because I feel like I'm a caged lion. There's more to tell.
There is. This is really
Cold
hard,
spring.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You are. This is really hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
actually.
It is. Think about it's what we've not said.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's so many gaps now. I actually thought we'd have enough material for only about 70 episodes. I'm now thinking we should go for the full 200.
I want to write down what we're missing out, just as we go.
I think we'll just listen back and check. Listen, dear listener, thank you so much for joining us on our little bit of a chin wag here. Hope you found it jolly. Any questions, any feedback, it's pod at Jolly Boys Brewery, all one word, .co.uk, and we'd love to hear from you. And if you could subscribe to the podcast, that'll make us feel important, and like it'll make us feel loved, which is what ultimately brewing beer is all about, love, isn't it? Yeah. And that's what we want. So we're here to spread the love and the warmth and the banter. Nice banter, not horrible banter. We're here to spread that. So do tune in again, and thanks very much for listening.
the Jolly Boys Brewery podcast.